Today, we're joined by Diana Oestreich, author, peace activist, and Iraq War veteran, for a conversation that's honest, hopeful, and surprisingly practical.
We talk about what it means to choose peace in the middle of conflict, how courage can feel a lot like fear, and why healing isn't just a crisis response, it's learning how to notice where you are on the mountain before you fall.
If you've ever felt like you're doing your best, but still searching for the next handhold, this one's for you. Let's begin. Welcome to Mom and Me Climbing Mountains Together, a podcast about showing up for each other in the messy middle of life. I'm Ileini, and alongside my mom, Ashley, we're sharing our story of navigating mental health, identity, family, and all the ups and downs that come with growing up and parenting at the same time.
We don't have all the answers. What we do have are honest conversations, sometimes heavy, sometimes hopeful, but always real. Our hope is that by climbing these mountains together out loud, you'll feel a little less alone in your own journey.
So, let's take a deep breath, settle in, and let's begin.
Well, hey there, climbers and listeners. I'm going to start off with a mom disclaimer like I usually do. If you are experiencing a health crisis right now, don't continue listening. Please call 911. Take care of yourself. If you're experiencing a mental health crisis, you can also call 911, but you can reach out to 988 as well for help. This should be a light episode, not a lot of topics that are too heavy, kind of like the first 1 through 3. But if something does trigger you, go ahead and pause and just take a moment and be with yourself, be with your coping mechanisms, be with your people, whatever you need to do to relax, and feel free to resume the journey later. But we're glad we're here with us.
Yay! Season finale.
We're here.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe we're here.
Number 10.
Yes, number 10, talking about our journey. It's been 2 years, I think. It'll be 3rd year streak of being clean next May, which is very surreal. I can't fully process it that it's been this long.
And by clean, no hospitalizations.
Yes.
And the being able to utilize your support systems and coping mechanisms that you have in place to keep yourself out of that really dark hole.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say there haven't been ups and downs.
Yeah, that's true. But it's been a long journey, and it's taken a lot to get to this point. And yeah, I'm glad we're here now. Mm-hmm. We have a friend with us today. She is a family friend, but she's also an activist, an author, and veteran. Diana Oestreich, thank you for joining us today.
I am so pumped to be here. I feel like I've heard snippets of your story, and then I heard the podcast was starting, and so I think there's a lot going on in the world, and just a huge high five to you, Ileini, for choosing to tell a story and then actually creating something. It's always easier to say it than to do it, and you guys are both doers. And so I'm just super pumped to be your friend and honored to join your podcast today.
Thank you.
Well, I think a large part of us being doers is actually what we discussed for 4 different episodes in our podcast is finding help along the way. And I know that you have young sons who go to school with Ileini, and we kind of had made first contact with that. But for me personally, I really started feeling connected to you when I started listening to your podcast, and I started looking into your book and the things that you're doing in our community. You just had the second Peace Hero Awards here in Duluth. Ileini was a nominee for that, and our friend who's helping us with our podcast, Asher, was as well. And for me and my journey in becoming my better self, but becoming a better support system for Ileini has been connecting with people like you, where it's inspirational and motivation sort of things I'm seeing that you're doing that are kind of pushing me to keep moving forward too. Or it's like, oh, you want to do a Peace Hero Awards and start this amazing like change your cutie? I'm going to do it. And here we go. And so, yeah, thank you for being here. This is really important. I think there's a lot of things with what you've done, and especially in your book, that Ileini and I both noticed that are very, very relative to the topic of this final podcast here, but also just the journey of our podcast and the different episodes that we've gone through. Ileini, you want to talk a little bit more about something that resonated with you and with the book?
Yeah. Well, we haven't gotten a chance to fully read your book. We've been busy with a lot recently, but thank you, Mom, for getting the help from AI.
We did some AI work.
No shame in that, you guys.
Yeah. We have some powerful quotes here, but there's one that really resonated with us, and we feel like it really resonates with this entire podcast as a whole. Here it is. Peace isn't the absence of conflict. It's showing up in the middle of it. So this is teaching us that peacemaking requires courage and presence and not avoidance, because you may want to do something, but it's just a thought until you pursue it and it becomes something real.
Like, for example, when I think I've shared this with you before in just our various conversations, but the seed that was planted for this podcast happened when I was talking with Ileini's doctor and kind of the caseworker when she was hospitalized the first time. And we were talking about discharge planning. And I didn't know, I knew enough about myself, whether it was an imposter syndrome or whatever. I knew enough that I knew I wasn't an expert in how to keep her safe, right? And we've talked about this many times. You know, if you have a medical issue or you break your arm, you go to MD for help, right? So I'm asking these people questions of, what is there? Do you have a website? Do you have a book? Anything you can recommend I do to help her come back home safely? And I don't know if it was because they were just overwhelmed, or I can imagine just the whole mental health industry, for lack of a better term, is just insanely overwhelming right now for everyone involved, but they didn't have an answer for me. And I've worked in like counseling centers and things like that. And I know there's a recurring theme for substance abuse where people can go to rehab, but they come back, they're in the same circles, and they fall back into that kind of same patterns and habits that led them to that breaking point in the first place. So the catalyst for this was, I need to go find somewhere or someone or something that can help me get through this. And thankfully, you, Ileini, you have gone through this whole journey of learning about yourself, learning about the world. I mean, we had your high school hockey coach on here as a guest, for crying out loud, right? Yeah. You've connected with so many people and so many instances of support that you were able to get to a point where, like we first introduced, you're not falling into those dark holes anymore. There's bad days, yes, but you have those coping mechanisms in place where you either go take a nap or you talk to me or you talk to a friend, right? There's things that we have going on. So I hope you don't mind, Diana, but I have an overview of your book and we have a summary, but do you want to talk a little bit about what kind of led you to finally writing that book and getting your own thoughts and feelings down on paper?
Sure. And one thing, because I'm also a mom of teenagers, disclaimer there, but I also am a trained Army combat medic, and that is about trauma and about saving lives, and then also an RN. And so you're very right when it's like, hey, what do I do? And you're saying they didn't really offer me much.
Yeah.
And the truth is that they don't have much, because so much in healthcare and medicine and trauma, which includes like mental health crises, there's just red lines, which is, okay, so, if your kid's fever is over 102, bring him in. But what do you do if it's under 102? There's nothing for that. We have these lines, but we don't have resources for like, how do we thrive? How do we know where we're at on this? It's just okay or not okay, which isn't really true.
Emergency response rather than preventative measures.
And just kind of knowing where you're at, There's good days, bad days, but you got to know like on 0 to 10, where are we at in this day? So I just want to validate that, yeah, you definitely, you heard right, and you went and tried to search out your own resources. So I decided to write my book when I was retelling my story again and again. And I do all these speaking things and events and podcasts. And I was like, wait a second. When people have a story, then oftentimes they put it in a book. And that's how like it's accessible to more people than the people that I'm in the room with. But that's like the practical story behind it. But the part that I don't share very often is that they weren't really talking. So I got deployed when I was 23, which means I'm a lot closer, Ileini, to your age when my story happened to me than I really am to Ashley, your age. So that's just young. Like, you're just growing. So when I was 23 and got deployed to the Iraq War and the invasion and was a combat medic for over a year, when I came back, they weren't really talking about trauma or PTSD. Like, we went from being in Baghdad for over a year to, in 7 days, they sent us back to our blocks. Like, after wearing, like, bulletproof armor and being shot at, and all of a sudden we're just, like, supposed to be normal people.
Wow.
So, all that being said is that I also had met the guy who I fell in love with the day before I shipped out. And he was young, too. So, like, I don't know how this worked out, but, like, he, like, somehow created a place where I could be okay. And I don't think there was a resource for that. I don't understand how a 25-year-old boy would, like, know that, except for miracles happen, and he is my person, and I'm his, and I don't know. But I remember him saying, after we had kids, he's like, Diana, he's like, I don't care if you write this and put it under the bed, or if you want to publish it. He's like, but our kids need to know, like, why you're here, why you survived, and how we became us. He's like, they need to know that because we are who we are.
Yeah.
And not many people have little boys who don't play with guns. And not many little boys have a mom who, when they ask about, like, guns and shooting and war, they ask their mom instead of their dad because she actually shot those weapons.
Yep.
So, like, they kind of grew up thinking this was, like, super normal. And Jake's like, they kind of need to know, like, they'll get to a point and figure out, like, this is really usual for them.
Yeah.
But doesn't make a lot of sense in the world of who we are and why we are. So that is the reason, truly, why I decided that that I wanted to write it.
That's amazing. And so that kind of covers finding help along the way and, why did we start this climb? Those are some of the themes in previous podcasts that we've had. And I can imagine, Ileini, we've talked about this. It's like, we don't even care if no one listens to this podcast, we feel like we have to at least try and see if maybe one person can benefit from hearing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd imagine seeing all the podcasts now you have built and everything, Diana, like you probably didn't imagine this sort of response and all these other mountains that you've climbed since writing the book that have kind of led you to this moment. But the fact that you had the encouragement and then you had the gusto to get it done it's awesome.
It still feels a little bit, you know, whenever you do something, it feels like so hard and also like so not enough.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's something that if I know that I know that I know, even if it's like super unlikely to ever happen, like I can't not, like I cannot just like set it down or walk away, even if it's really, really hard.
Yeah.
So I can't say anything ever feels like, wow, I did that. Like, like it doesn't work that way. I think that's why you need other people to like tell you, no, that's a thing. You did a thing. But I feel like what I know to be true, which was in a war zone, and which I also know to be true today, is that we have courage, even if it never feels it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it never feels like stepping up and telling your story.
Mm-hmm.
You know it's hard, you know it's not
Yeah,
easy,
it
but you
is.
don't know that other people can see that it's courageous. And when you do something for other people that's vulnerable and hard, like there's people you will never get to see who get to have courage because you had courage to share who you are.
Yeah.
And it's always vulnerable to share. Veterans Day is tomorrow. It is vulnerable to be a soldier who chooses peace.
Yeah.
And there's so much that I don't ever think anybody wants to hear. And they just wish I would shut up because it doesn't make life simple for them. But I think that being fully alive and being okay with tension and actually running towards the things that are painful and hurting, that's where peace is at.
Yeah.
Like I always say that the purpose of waging war is peace. No one goes to war to get more war.
Yeah.
But what
Hopefully
if
not.
we actually just started with what we wanted, which was peace on the inside and peace on the outside?
Yeah.
And that's something you got to fight for.
Yeah. There's this, I may have seen this quote at the Peace Hero Awards. I cannot remember now, but there's something that came up recently and I thought I shared it with you, Ileini. I don't remember the source, but it's something that said that bravery, if you're doing it right, feels a lot like fear. Right? And that has been sitting so heavy in my gut, especially, thinking about coming up to this final recording here where like I remember all last summer and like planning on when Ileini applied for the grant through the Anne Bancroft Foundation to get the money to help with the podcast, all these things where it's like, you're so nervous and anxious about whether or not they're going to approve the application. But then you have the thought of, holy crap, what if they do approve the application?
What if they do?
We have to do this.
Yeah.
And there was a moment after that approval, we were so excited and crying. And then I was like, oh, wait, now we have to do this.
Yeah.
And it was really, really hard for me to at least get over the fear of what if I say something stupid or what if anything we're saying doesn't make sense. But I think working together, reaching out to people like Diana and our previous guest, Casey and Coach Allie and many, many other people, Josh, Jeba, your mentor.
Josh also works at the county with Casey.
I mean, a lot of, and we're friends with them through hockey, but a lot of different people where we've just been talking about the podcast. And it's like, that is so amazing. Send me the link when you're done. And that's been fuel for both of our fires to keep going.
Well, because not many people are talking about it. I feel like the Instagram version is like everybody's like not in the struggle, and they're always like, oh, just do 3 things and everything's awesome. And it's like, but that is not, no one will share the like, it's beautiful and it's hard. Like, it's never done. There's no finish line with mental health. Like, you are always having to like be present to like health, and it's going to go up and down, and like parenting and having relationships. I feel like it's very like sanitized. It's just like, do these 3 things and everything's fine. So I think sharing your story is I haven't heard of a podcast like this. Yay.
Well, even parenting, there's no blueprint for how Dad and I could have helped you through this. There's no blueprint for us on how to raise your 2 siblings, right? Each of you kids is so different. And I don't think it should be a scary and overwhelming to hear that mental health never goes away, right? Because we are complex creatures, right? So we always have to do something to be feeding our brains and our feelings and emotions. I mean, we go to medical doctors for help with our bodies, right? There's nutritionists out there who help with diet and healthy eating. You know, there's specialists for neurology, there's cardiac doctors. You know, there's always something that we can be doing to help strengthen and grow our mental health side of our bodies and our mind as well. So, Ileini, I know we wanted to talk a little bit more about the book. Do you want to read the summary of the book, or do we want to go back into the key themes again?
Oh, really quick. I don't know if we ever did this. Diana, do you want to introduce your book?
Yes. Yes, I will. And I think you had asked me to introduce myself, and I kind of bunnied out. So I'm just going to do that. So I told them, I'm like, I don't know why it's kind of hard when people are like, just say who you are, to be like, this is who I am and this is what I do, and not feel like you have to make it really small, because talking about yourself is uncomfortable or your accomplishments. So I am an author. I'm also a peace activist and also a combat veteran where I served in Iraq. And my book is called Waging Peace, One Soldier's Story of Choosing Love First. And it is a story of going to war at 23 and then having my entire world be changed by kind of meeting myself. So you always have like these ideas of who you are, and you're handed a lot of beliefs and systems, and all of a sudden if you see somebody who's right at the end of it, you're like, oh gosh. In like reality, I'm not okay with any of this. And so it's kind of my story of becoming myself in a place that I never thought I would be. So going to war, I ended up laying down my weapon. And I always say that I found my place in the family of 8 billion people in Iraq. And it's just never changed my life for the best. Hardest thing ever, but also I'd never, ever like want to live a day without having that freedom to choose love first and to choose how I'm going to fight. Like everybody is fighting, but I knew I wanted to fight without violence. And that's kind of the thing that kind of opened up my whole world to me. And coming home, so the book looks like it's about war, but it's really all about how do you get to be you in your real community. Like war is extreme and in some ways kind of simple and easy, but living in our neighbors who are different than us, in politics, as a parent, like how are we going to show up and fight for the things we want, and our neighbors and our friends, and even the people we keep being told not to care about or they don't matter. But we can do that. And I kind of think it's our purpose. Like, and I think have you guys heard of Viktor Frankl?
I have.
I think we've fangirled about this,
Yes.
but anyways, he survived not 1 but 3 concentration camps, and he's a psychologist, and he says purpose. Like we need purpose, and I really think peace is our purpose. Like peace inside, because we get to feel it inside, and we need it, and also working for peace around us. And it'll look different for like everybody, but like when you see it, you see it. I always feel like it's like, when like you see love, you just know it's love. No one has to explain it or quantify it. You're like, that's straight love, you know?
Yeah.
I think peace is like that. So that's a little bit of the intro for my book, Ileini. Thanks for saying that.
Of course.
So anything else, or you want to go over some of the key themes?
I don't know. I just hearing about your story and your book, it can be reflected into many different ways because you accomplished that understanding of yourself through a very hard situation, especially considering it was war. But it can also be reflected onto inner turmoil and finding the peace within ourselves, even through the darkness. And I think that's just super powerful in itself, because that also helps remind us that there is always light in the darkness, no matter what. It may seem like it's pitch black, but there's always that tiny speck of lightness. Oh my gosh. I combined
hope,
brightness and light together.
But
yeah, shining hope, like you said.
I'm trying not to cry over here. Just proud of my baby.
Thanks.
One thing, I think I've brought this up in a previous episode, but I'll say it again. I did a lot of conflict resolution studies when I was finishing my bachelor's, and I went to this training, and there was someone who had traveled the world helping with conflict resolution studies and mediations, and was a professor. And they said that once you start down this path and you start learning how to, in a healthy way, to resolve conflict, the hardest struggle you will have is living in a world where others don't have that same knowledge or skills.
Or values.
Right? To want to strive for healthy resolution and things like that. And I think that's obviously relevant in the concept of war in general, but very relevant to what you're saying, Ileini, where there is light and darkness. There is darkness and light, right? There's everything is going to be kind of mixed up, and you have to figure out how to deal with all that.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's heavy, it's heavy. But again, there's coping mechanisms. There's ways to do that. I feel like this term is so weaponized now, but self-care, right? It shouldn't be weaponized, but it's almost like exhausting in its own, self.
Yeah.
But
one of the ways that I frame it sometimes is that I really do believe that violence is anything that violates our human dignity.
mm-hmm.
And that is in word, that is in deed, but we all know that our brain machine that likes to think thoughts, it can be so tell us stuff that absolutely crushes our spirit and tells us that we don't belong and that this is the darkest thing that's ever going to happen. So I think even capturing those words that are either said on the inside to ourselves or said on the outside, if it violates your dignity, your beauty, your right to breathe, even though it's hella hard, then we have to say no to violence. I always say that peace disarms violence.
Yeah.
Because violence isn't just what people are always well, I'm not violent, I'm not shooting anybody today.
Yeah.
But when we allow words, whether they're inside us or being told to other people, that violates them, I'm that is a red line. And that will always cause harm.
Yep.
So I think that's why waging peace makes sense to me, because we're going to need to fight for ourselves on the inside. And we're going to have to fight for other people on the outside. But when we do that, we all win.
Yep. 100%.
Because conflict is normal. Violence does not have to be. And the shortcut is that, it's just always going to be this way it is. And I'm no, it's not. No, it's not. If it takes one courageous person to be hey, stop that. Whether that is you beating yourself up or you allowing somebody else to kind of demean you, that's all violence. So I think the more we start to make violence the enemy and each other, like on our team, like we are going to get to have healthier, more resilient communities, families, coffee shops. Like we can do it if we just kind of identify who the real enemy is. And I think that trauma and PTSD and mental, like all of these things, part of it is being okay with wherever, being kind to yourself when things are the way they are.
Yeah.
But that takes, it's tough to stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
It really
to
is.
yourself.
Yeah.
I love where this is going right now. Because you, Ileini, got to a point where things were so difficult that you did kind of choose violence against yourself because you knew of no other way.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like for people who are considering suicide, who are considering, attempting to end their life as a means of coping with pain, it's so final, and they're not allowing themselves the opportunity to reach out somewhere for help or the possibility of connecting with a new friend. Like I never in my life would have imagined meeting you, Diana, and meeting Jeba, who became your mentor. I decided to take a women's leadership training here in the city that our local chamber of business puts on, and never in my life would have imagined, as soon as I saw Jeba and I read about her, the light bulb would turn on to be like, hey, do you want to mentor my daughter? Right?
Plus, give a little props to yourself, okay? Not everybody has a mom who's like finding really cool people to like mentor their kids.
But on the other side, Ileini's like, oh my gosh, you talk to everyone. You don't have to tell them everything all the time.
Okay. If I may vouch for myself, she'll tell the cashier our entire life story over one little item, trying to explain why she's getting it.
Which is probably a whole mix of ADHD and imposter syndrome.
But the science says that people who make conversations with random people during their day are happier. So it's not even like people that matter to you. Like the people who just make random conversation during their day, they're like, they say like they score 10 times happier than people who don't.
So funny.
You are doing something very positive.
That's so funny. I do
yourself.
think the narrative between you, Ileini, and myself with that was turned from oversharing to, okay, that's just mom doing her thing. And you know what? There is good that's coming from it, because you've had a couple years of, like, at first it was embarrassment, despite getting your approval and consent to talk about these things with people. My circle of who I would talk to expanded as we've, strengthened that bond, and you became more outspoken for yourself as well.
Yeah.
So parents, if you're listening, there was a lot of back and forth dialogue behind the scenes of getting to that point. But that was also my way. We couldn't afford therapy for a long time. That was my way of finding more happiness and connection with others. Like, I wasn't alone in the fact that I had a daughter who had attempted suicide, had attempted to end her life.
And just even you saying that, like, I'm like not currently in the health profession, but I think just saying that out loud normalizes it for so many people that like, this is like, I do a lot with gun violence, and like people are touched. Like, I mean, I think I've heard that at least 1 in 3 people are touched by a suicide, by an attempt, by, like, this is gun violence. Like, this is just kind of like normal. And I think just you saying it allows everybody to be like, okay, I'm a normal person experiencing like hard situations. Like, and I'm not alone.
Yeah.
And I do a workshop about keeping kids like arrive alive at 18.
Wow.
And it's not just for driver's ed. It's really like, what is the one thing that you can do to just make sure that like any kid gets to be 18 and like do your thing, screw up, live a life. But you got to get to 18
Yeah.
to like get those options. And the number one thing is not having a firearm in your home when you have kids 18 and under, because that 15 minutes where all of like depression is one of the only diseases that actually convinces you to harm yourself. Like cancer just harms you. It doesn't convince you to help.
Yeah.
And it's so powerful. So when there's 15 minutes of like desperation and darkness, just not having something so lethal available. They say most people who attempt with any other thing than a gun, they typically live a really long life.
Wow.
Because they're not successful and they figure out that 15 minutes was horrible. But I actually didn't want that. I just was desperate.
Yeah.
And so it's like, wow.
That's
So
crazy.
it just
lack of a
makes
better
the
word.
point of those times they'll happen. But if you don't have access to something with 100% lethality, you get another shot to have another bad day and another good day.
Yep. That's so important. You know, it's hard parenting anyways, because like, especially with sports, like I know like if I could go back to that age, what I would do differently with sports, but I was just so wrapped up in my own head. And yeah, maybe I could have gone, gotten a full ride to college to play like water polo, for example, is the sport I played. But living in the moment when you're a teenager and you have so little life experience and you have so many big feelings and emotions and hormones and chemistry all of a sudden, and you're kind of, I don't want to say trapped, but you are kind of made to go to the same school with the same people every day. I can imagine that it feels that the desperation feelings are overwhelming and very easy to give into, even for adults, right? But there's a lot of adults who have issues like this, but teens especially, I mean, it's a lot.
I feel like teens don't have a lot of choice.
Yeah.
Like they don't have as many options or choices, where a lot of adults do have some choices and teens like don't have a lot.
I'm thinking about this generation and the topic of suicide and mental health. And there are parts of me that want to say that my generation have a harder time regarding it, but there are also past generations where people were not as informed as they are now. But because of that, it's now reflected onto, oh, it shouldn't be a thing anyways. You're fine. And I feel like I jumped around that. But this generation, they're often degraded when they bring up mental health and their struggles, because, in media, there will be the strict parents and be like, oh, you should just man up. This isn't a real thing. You're just imagining it. It's all in your head.
I had it so much worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, also the majority of mental health things really do like surface 10, 11, 12. And so it's during the same time where like kids are going through so many developmental stages. But oftentimes they're dismissed in that middle school, high school, and they don't until college or older, where finally they get taken seriously, or they can actually pursue asking around or getting help without their parents, that they're like, oh yeah, that was happening way back in 7th grade. And nobody was there for me.
Yep.
So my hope is that kids will get taken care of, like cared for, however that looks. As if someone feels cared for, I think they've got such a better shot at being okay with who they are, which is like all you want for a kid is to like love themselves, be curious about the world, and I think be connected to the vulnerable. Like if you have those three things, your life is a 10. It won't be easy, but you'll be able to be you.
I just had a light bulb moment. So we have a crazy lazy day yesterday. And I don't want to say lazy in a bad way, but like
we weren't feeling good.
We weren't feeling the best. We were tired. We had done a ton of hockey and we just decided to take a movie day. And one of the movies that we watched was Godmothered. I don't know if you've seen this.
I've never heard of that.
It's really, really cute. But there's a scene where, like, at the end of the story, the mother had gone through a lot. She had lost her husband. The older daughter, who was in high school, she remembers her dad, before he died. The younger daughter didn't remember the dad as well because she was so young. And so the mom and the older daughter are really struggling with not wanting to talk about him and in that sort of losing their dialogue together, not being able to communicate. And this character comes in who's the mother's godmother, or fairy godmother, I should say, from when she was little. It sort of turns into her being the fairy godmother for the older daughter. And the mother looked at the daughter when the daughter had something where they were going to perform on stage. And there was a history of like that not going well. Mm-hmm. And the mother was just like, I just remember last time. And then the girl turns to the fairy godmother. She's like, you can do it, and is so supportive in a kind of a naive way, but was just pure love. And if you want it, you can do it. And I lost my shit. Excuse me for swearing this podcast. I lost it, and I'm in the corner on the couch bawling. And your little sister, Ileini, looks at me. She's like, are you crying? Why are you crying? I'm like, I can't explain. There's too much to explain. Just watch the movie right now.
I look back and Josie messaged her. She's like, Mom, why are you crying? It's just a movie. Why are you crying?
And it's like, parents, let me get your attention really quick here if you're listening. Are you actually allowing your kids to make mistakes and to still outwardly support their growth in the future? Are you actually doing that? Or are you kind of internalizing and projecting your own failures and not teaching them how to grow beyond theirs? I think that's been my thing I've brought up a lot in this whole entire podcast, all the episodes, is kind of calling out us parents. Like, are you actually helping your kids? They're not you. They're not us. Ileini, you have so many of my characteristics, but you are not me, right? And I know, I think I was partly crying because I feel like there are a lot of examples of me not being as supportive as I should have been with you, and almost like clean slate supportive, whether it's naive or not. It's like, this is a new experience for you. Maybe you can do it this time. You kids grow exponentially in such a short amount of time that maybe you are, even a month later, ready for this new venture, right?
Yeah.
And I think parents, we kind of get into this rut where it's difficult to change. We go to the same job, right? We have a lot of similar things that we're doing, and we're not trying new things like we did in high school, and we don't have new friends we're meeting. We just kind of have the same rotation every day. But these kids are building their life. Mm-hmm. They have to keep seeing new and keep experiencing new. So what are you doing to help encourage them with that?
Yeah.
That was a crazy light bulb moment.
That was really good. That was really good.
So watch Godmothered if you can.
Ileini, I want to ask you, going back to, you said in your generation, talking about mental health or suicide is kind of like looked down on, or just like whatever, being needy or extra. Yeah. But amongst would you say your peers, is that different? Like, are people more talking about yeah, I'm anxious or I'm depressed, or how is it amongst teenagers?
Well, I mean, it's kind of hard for me to answer right now because this semester specifically, I'm more independent. So I'm really only around cliquey high school groups.
Fun.
I know. And I feel like it should be a more solidified topic because I'm mostly talking about sports, but mental health isn't really talked about at all. Like, talking with my peers, I don't think I've heard any of them mention or say the word suicide once. Well, maybe, okay, I have regarding my story with one of my friends recently, but never from somebody else.
Really?
Yeah, I've
Like, it seems like I would think the kids will say what like adults are chicken to admit, which is suicide happens, suicide attempts happen. Like,
Yeah.
so you're blowing my mind right now.
I know. It's so baffling. And I think I told
So would you say like all of high school, like students really like don't say the word?
I've never experienced it. I've never been there in a conversation.
Will people talk about therapy but not suicide?
Yes.
I've heard you,
in a way.
not to interject, but when I've heard you talk about someone who had spoken about therapy, it was almost like either to attention seek or to like excuse their behavior.
Yeah, that's usually where things are brought up. And also on the praying for attention, asking for attention, that also might be a cry for help. But they also were getting the help that they could from the therapy. So I don't know what I could have done anymore. But there are cases where some kids will just say it because they are known to be the boy who cries wolf. And it shouldn't be looked down on, but it is a topic that is mocked a lot.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's really hard because in hockey, I was talking to my coach about it during our interview and how she's bringing more awareness about mental health for our team in the program. But in the locker room, when the coaches aren't there, it's a different situation and environment because so many of the girls, it's heartbreaking to hear and be there when they're saying this, but they'll be like, oh, this is so stupid. It's such a waste of time. We're here to play hockey. Why are we doing this? It doesn't matter. We're here to play a sport and win games. Mental health isn't really irrelevant. It's just dumb and stupid. And that is so, so hard.
Right? Because not only do you know, because you experience it, but you know there's probably 25 other people
Yeah.
who are also in the same boat, but they just got told that they know they had better not say anything. Because the loudest voice, I think oftentimes is the cruelest and the dumbest. Like, it just literally makes no sense. Like, it doesn't actually add up.
So that's related to that thing I learned from that conflict resolution training is once you go through this training and you start learning about conflict resolution, the hardest part moving forward is you have those skills when others don't. And that's relevant to you and your journey to be an advocate for mental health is it's actually easier for Ileini to do this podcast that's just a video recording than to speak up in person in front of her peers.
It totally is because it's hard for all of us.
Yeah.
My kids got in elementary school. They had the no bullying campaign, and they got taught that 90% of bullying instances stop within 90 seconds if someone will say 3 words. Hey, stop that.
Yep.
So instead of being a bystander, to say 3 words. And they came home and I was like, okay, I'm committing to say it. If these elementary schoolers are being told they have to stop being bystander to say these 3 words, I'm like committing myself to say these 3 words when I see someone doing something anywhere, anytime. I'm like, I'm just blackmailing myself. If it's the gas station, grocery store, wherever, just be like, if someone is doing something that is not right, I need to be the person that says, hey, stop that.
Yeah.
it's crazy scary.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I've done it,
Right.
but it's so hard to have one person just say, hey, that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it tells everybody, it changes the dynamic, but think of how few times you see someone do it.
Yeah.
Because it is scary and hard.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, I think, the point of this final episode, and our theme is like, where do we go? Right? We're at the summit of Ileini's mountain of having survived the last 3 years and going through high school. You're a senior now, and relative to 8th grade, getting ready to look at your 9th grade, first year of high school, you were terrified. Whereas now you've done enough and learned enough to where you're actually excited. You found a college program you're really interested in. You're like, yeah, like I actually think that I could do this. And there's excitement rather than fear, maybe a little bit of like bravery fear rather than like absolute horror related fear, right? And I think that everyone's story is going to be so different and how they overcome their struggles. And a lot of people don't have a family support system to help them through, or a very, supportive inner circle. But obviously, in meeting you, Diana, and other friends, I know I've learned, and this is a message we're trying to get across to our listeners and, climbers here, is that your answer might not be in front of your face, but there is still hope for you out there. And there is still a way to get through. And, you, Ileini, you're on top of this summit right now looking around, and not every mountain looks interesting, right? Not every road in front of you looks interesting enough to climb on, but the fact that you've been able to find something where you're like, I think I'm going to take this path, and you want to move forward in it, I think is really important. And it's so huge, and I'm really proud of you.
Thanks. It's taken a
I'm
lot.
proud of you too. And one of the biggest things that I see in you, Ileini, and also I see in my story and also your story, Ashley, is when you start to speak up for yourself or speak up for what matters to you. It's the scariest thing ever. But then once you do, it's like you're showing up for yourself, and I feel like that was the game changer. When I spoke up and actually wrote my book and said my story, even though it wasn't what anybody else wanted it to be, but it was the truest truth for me. And hiding it was safer and easier for belonging and relationships. But once I was willing to show up for myself and speak up about what's true for me, that is when I think I started to find a little bit more of me, and then also find people to do the journey with me. I always tell people, like, waging peace is only like 3 things. You got to show up, commit, and then plan to celebrate. Because if you show up for yourself and you commit to it, like you keep doing, of saying you're going to advocate for yourself and advocate for mental health, you will have something to celebrate. It might be a big win, it might be a small win, but if you never cross the start line, then you won't get to celebrate. So I think it's pretty special that we get to like celebrate with you on your final episode of something where you've just shown up for yourself and you've committed to speaking up. And then you're going to get to celebrate.
And I think that the celebration is worth it. Right?
Yeah. We're here.
You're here.
Gosh.
And next year from now, you'll probably come back. Your mom will still be podcasting because she's an external processor. She'll be here with her new guest. She'll be the next Oprah. But you'll be like done with your first year of college. And you'll get to like drop into your mom's show and share how that mountain went.
That would be awesome.
I feel like right now I'm starting my journey again, but in a different way, because this is 8th grade to 9th grade. This is senior year to freshman year all over again. But I have hope now, and I do know how to help myself and to help others, and how to think in a way that will help me from now on. Leading with love and peace and patience, not only for myself, because we all need that, of course, but for others as well. Yeah.
It's not a perfect system, right? But having that core value and reminding yourself of it every time you kind of get off the path a little bit has been really helpful.
And I did see you having a little bit of an emotional moment at the Peace Hero
yeah.
Awards that I wanted to ask you about. There's like so much going on, but I was like, you know, being in that room with people who are telling powerful stories of showing up in ordinary ways that actually are extraordinary. What was going on for you?
It was kind of like, I don't know if light bulb moment is the right term, but it was just realization that, oh my gosh, I'm here. I'm physically here in a place that I never would have dreamed I would ever be in. Ever. Because I never saw myself going down this path at all. And sitting in this, not the stands. Tell me you play sports without telling me you play sports. But
the audience.
where the audience sits. I forgot what it's called. But looking down at the entire ceremony and you speaking about peace, it just made me think about myself, and I am a silent peace hero. And I mostly for myself right now. And I feel like I'm ready to take the next step and be that peace hero for other people. Just like you, Diana.
You are a peace hero for other people, Ileini. Not later and not starting and not silent either. Like, you are. And it was beautiful to see you on that stage.
Thank you. We don't have video, but right now
I'm sure they can hear me sniffling into the moms are
made
crying.
them teary-eyed.
No. It's just, obviously this is powerful because we love you, but you know, definitely all three of us here really, really want others to be able to find peace in their own lives and within themselves. So if you're listening, our new friends, climbers, listeners, parents, teens, whoever you are, our friends from hockey, we had a hockey mom tell us that she's listening to the podcast now. Just thank you for sticking with this journey. And, you know, I'm sure a lot of it was really confusing with what we were spiraling on. But I think you all get the gist of it now, that you are absolutely not alone and you are very, very loved, whether you've met the person who loves you or not yet. And just take care of yourselves. Choose to be peaceful with yourself. And just hold on. Do what you can to learn and grow and take care of yourself. Because we need you here.
Keep growing, going towards that light. Keep on climbing your mountains and pursuing your journey.
Yeah, and know that you have a place at the table. Like, you belong, and our communities are incomplete without your perspective, your passions, your voice, who you are. And just know that the world needs you. And I always say that peace, people are like, well, what is that? I'm like, it's not like an ice cream flavor. It's a real thing. And I'm like, peace is when each one of us has a seat at the table. And we have what we need to thrive. And I want that for every single kid and every single person in my community and in my family and at Denfeld School. Like, I want every kid on that stage knowing that, like, they're important and we believe in them.
I'm going to keep sniffling on this poor mic. I think this is a good place to end. What do you think?
Yeah. Just wanted to say thank you for joining us on this journey through our podcast. We hope that this has helped you in some type of way, whether it's a huge aha moment or it's just little things. But anything helps, really.
Yeah.
So thank you once again. And keep on climbing.
Keep climbing. Thank you.
Can we clap? I just want to clap.
Oh my gosh. I'm losing it. Oh, that's a wrap.
That's cut. Cut.
Thanks for climbing this part of the mountain with us. These conversations aren't easy, but they matter. And we're grateful you're here, listening and walking alongside us.
If today's episode stirred something in you, take a moment to sit with it. Journal about it, share it with someone you trust. And if you're struggling, please remember you don't have to carry it alone. In the US, you can dial or text 988 for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline anytime you need.
Thank you to the Anne Bancroft Foundation for fulfilling dreams with their grants to girls like me, to my incredible mentor, Jeba Edmonds, for the never-ending encouragement and kindness along the way, and to Asher Carlson, owner of the Duluth Creative Co., who helped bring our vision to life. You never know who you'll meet along the way. We'll meet you here again soon with more stories that remind us none of us climb alone. Until then, hold on to hope, take the next step, and keep climbing.